Okay. So then, I mean, some friends' family had red flags. Neither of you had red flags kind of going into the marriage?
Long pause.
None. The red flags were all over the place. No. I think the red flag had to do with the speed, like the quickness at which we decided to move forward. Like Sam was like, "Oh, I got this. You're my wife. Let's do this." And I was like, and this is like the he's like, no, seriously. He will make it like, "Okay, guys, let's do this. We're like ready," and we're like off to the races. So I think that was like the only red flag for me. I was like,
really?
Yeah.
I would say.
Did I have more red flags?
No, I would say the speed was driven by you, to be honest. Although looking,
Oh, this is great.
yeah,
This is great. You would say it was driven by me.
yeah. And looking back at it, I think it was partially, it was things you said, but also it was my leadership given who we were and who discussions that we had. To clarify what I mean, so the first conversation that we had when we transitioned from being friends to boyfriend and girlfriend,
Fostering a friendship.
yeah. Our discussion was, okay, so what is this? Where is this going? We're intentional people. We're people of faith. Like, what do we want?
Yeah.
And her response was, well, I would marry you tomorrow, which I thought was so cute and flattering. And maybe
you
it
ran
wasn't
with
fully serious.
Was not serious.
And I was busy the next day anyways, right? So it didn't.
He was like,
Yeah.
I have time between 2 and 4.
Right. So we had a discussion, and how I felt about that discussion was that we didn't want to have a long engagement. We wanted to get married as soon as possible. And there was a few reasons for that, practically speaking. One was from a family planning standpoint, we wanted to have some time as a married couple to ourselves before we ended up bringing children into it, which was also something that was important to us. That was a piece that was a consideration for me. So when discussing dates and timing, it was pretty fast. But from my perspective, the reason that it was as fast as it was because of how we both were like, hey, this is an adventure. Let's do it. We'll work it out. And the faster that we do this, practically speaking, the more we can move on to that side of our life, right? Mm-hmm. So that was how I felt about it in the moment. Maybe I misinterpreted. I got some mixed signals. I don't know. But
You think?
Well, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, no, I didn't feel that way at all.
Okay.
I thought to myself, my goodness, this guy's rushy and super quick, but I'm here for it. Like I was really down to be a part of the adventure. It was exciting. It was exciting and it was fun.
Yeah.
And I also like a challenge.
Right.
And I like to do things that other people are not doing. And so it aligned with like just my personality and the way that I approach life. But if it was up to me, I don't think that would be like a realistic plan. Like I wouldn't have been like, oh yeah, let's get married in 7 months.
Which is ironic because I think that's
But
one
I
of the
think it
things that if I was to do it over, I would have done very differently. Is to have a much longer period of getting to know each other and know ourselves and learn and assess compatibility and work through, trauma and issues, etc. Like that's so. I find it ironic now that it sounds like we had a misunderstanding. Both of us thought, well, you're moving so fast. Well, you're moving so fast. Or well, let's go then.
Well, let's go.
Right. Whereas,
and I also think there's a competition part to that because I think we kind of like, well, if you're doing it, I'm doing it, and you know what I mean.
Sure.
It's like, oh, we don't want to seem like we're wusses or anything like that.
We were playing a game of marriage chicken, essentially.
Right. It's like, you going, I'm going.
I'm now realizing today for the first time.
In 7 months, it happened.
You were today years old when you realized that. So was I.
Okay. So like working through any challenges, any difficulties prior to the marriage, what were you trying to work through? Prior
to the marriage? I don't know if we were working through anything together. I think it was more personally, just working through our own, sort of mental, emotional health stuff, finances stuff, work stuff, life purpose stuff. I can't think of anything that.
No major conflicts prior to.
Kind of came up.
Speaking for myself, there was planning a wedding is a lot. Mm-hmm. So we had some challenges and conflicts then. Mm-hmm. How are we going to do this? But I wouldn't say that those were necessarily major. But for the first few months, from my perspective, we had almost no fights. It was the honeymoon period, as they call it. And
Yeah, I
then
don't
we hit a
remember.
point where we actually started having fights, and those didn't always go well. Like I remember reflecting on how I behaved in some of those disagreements and being like, wow, really? Because when I was younger, I had anger issues, and I had, for much of my young adult life to that point, I didn't struggle with anger and losing my temper in the same way. And then there was a few times that I lost my temper and acted in ways that I found to be problematic. And I was like, really? Wow, this is interesting. I remember I think I was driving a truck as part of my job. And I think we were sitting in that truck and we had an argument, and I refused to like close the door and it was cold or something like that. Like
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
because I didn't feel like I was being listened to.
Yeah.
So I was trying to exert a form of control by making us
Yeah.
freeze
Yeah.
like a little child. But and not to like it was wrong. It was a reflection of the tools that I had at the time to deal with anger, but it was wrong and it wasn't fair to her. So yeah, I found a few instances where I behaved in similar ways that showed me like, oh my gosh, I might not be as healthy or as ready as I thought I was.
And you remember that?
Yeah, I do remember that. I remember it had to do with a drink of some sort, and you wanted me to drink something, and I was like, yeah, I'm good. But I don't remember. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't remember it the same way, just in terms of like the level of anger. I remember you were persistent, but yeah, I mean, internally you experienced that,
Right.
for yourself differently. Yeah, I can't really think of anything that was, I mean, there were things that were kind of annoying, but nothing that I didn't think I could handle. And I was like, well, we'll work it out kind of thing. Okay. So maybe I'll even say it like this, like, my friends say that I'm white girl in a horror movie, optimistic. Like, and I think part of that clouds my judgment at times, because I honestly didn't see anything before we got married. I was kind of like, okay, whatever. He has his own quirky personality and, whatever issues, we'll work it out. That was sort of my disposition.
And we did, and now look at it. No.
And look at us now. We worked it. Oh, we sure worked it out. I worked myself out of a whole marriage.
Okay, so that optimistic nature kind of wore off. Okay.
No, I'm still very optimistic. I was optimistic that I could work myself out of what I got myself into.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, I mean, marriage happens. This is you said 7 month period.
Yes, from when we went on our first date to when we got married.
Was 7 months.
Was 7 months. Yeah.
Okay.
So not the time we knew each other, but like what we're talking like official dating. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Then, okay, you're married and you're thinking, okay, this is great, or things are starting to unravel.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, stuff hit the fan real quick. For me, it was the day after we got married. It was the day after our wedding. We came back to the city, and I remember we drove to, I don't remember what we were doing. We were running some kind of errand, and he had a whole meltdown. He was driving, he had a whole meltdown. I don't know if you remember this. He had a whole meltdown as he was driving us somewhere, and he just stopped the car like on the side of the road, and he was just like in a rage. And I was like, who are you? This is not the person that I said I do to yesterday. Can we get him back? Because I don't think I like you very much, sir. Please go away. But I remember at the time I didn't really say much, and I was in shock. Mm-hmm. But that was the first moment where I was like, I was actually frightened. I was like, what am I, like, what did I, what did I just do?
Yeah. The who are you moment.
Yeah, it was scary. It was scary.
Okay. Any who are you moments for yourself there, Samuel?
Yeah, so this is something I'm laughing to myself because the subject of this podcast was supposed to be how we fell in love. And
we're like, how did we fall in love?
Yeah, it hasn't gone in that direction so far, which is okay. Authentic conversations are important to both of us. But I'm thinking back to, there was a recurring issue that Genevieve and I have actually never talked about.
Talk about it here?
We're going to talk about it right now.
Go.
So there was a series of what Genevieve would call meltdowns, right? And that was basically me losing my temper and like acting irrationally. And there was a sequence of events that happened before that was recurring from my perspective, where I would express something gently and Genevieve would just kind of say nothing and look around, right? And I took that to be like, she's not, like, I'm saying it gently. This is actually something that's meaningful to me. And I'm not receiving any response or acknowledgement of my concern or my need. And so then I would escalate what I was saying. And then it would hit a point where she was like, why are you speaking to me like this? And from my perspective, it was like, because I tried speaking to you more gently and there wasn't acknowledged. And eventually I would hit a point where I was demonstrative in my frustration and anger in ways that were,
This is
where I was demonstrative in my frustration and anger.
Yeah.
Like this guy, right? Just smooth.
Well, thank you. That's too kind. And I'm saying it nicely, but like I didn't do nice things. I did things that legitimately,
I was scared.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And she had a right to be, right, in the way that I acted a lot of the time when that happened. So why did I bring this up? I brought this up to say that was a learning for me. I didn't expect that I didn't expect myself to behave that way. And I also didn't expect that from Genevieve, because I had always felt listened to when we were dating and courting. Like looking back, my guess, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is it's not that you weren't necessarily listening to me, or it's that maybe you were processing what I was saying and you just didn't respond verbally necessarily.
Yeah, of course.
In a way that was affirming in the way that I was expecting. So we had a kind of a misconnection, a misunderstanding in terms of my needs versus what was happening with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
and I think that speaks volumes to the learning that happens when we're interacting with other people, because my listening now is very different than my listening then. It doesn't mean I wasn't listening, right?
Right.
But I know how to better show others how I'm listening, when I'm listening to them, right? And so at the time, I mean, silence is not the best response to convey to someone else that you're listening to them, right? So even if you are processing, even if you are listening, whatever, like let them know is kind of where I'm at today. But at the time, I was like that's what I'd learned to do. I'd learned to stay silent and to not respond. And so it's like, okay, I'm listening, and I'm like, okay. And then it's like when I figure out what to do or how to respond, then I say something. But what that translates as is dismissive. It translates as I'm not attending to what you're saying. So then he's like, wait, I have to say it louder, right?
Yeah,
it's like, if you're not listening or you don't hear me, I speak louder. Oh, you're not listening, you don't hear me, I speak louder, right? Okay. And then it gets to a point where it's like,
why are you yelling at me? I'm not going to respond to you if you're going to be speaking in this abusive manner to me. Right.
Yeah. So you were really just getting stuck in those cycles, and cycles which you didn't see prior to marriage because of this 7-month courtship that you had.
She said is that judgment? You feel judged? I feel judged.
You're saying you never saw the anger.
She's like, you didn't have time to see the anger, okay? Yeah. 7 months is not enough.
Right.
It's okay, I receive it.
Okay.
Again, if I was to do all this over, maybe in month 9, we would have realized this, and we would have maybe gone to therapy and talked and unpacked this and figured out a better way to deal with that cycle, right?
So no premarital counseling.
We did premarital counseling. We did it with pastors. Each of our respective pastors at the time.
Okay.
But not enough.
But definitely, I mean, enough. I think we need to have premarital counseling with, I personally believe, I should say, with like clinical therapists who can, highlight and sort of nuance the things like cycles, and things like family of origin issues and things like that might play into the marriage dynamic. Yeah. So I think I don't know. I valued our premarital counseling experiences, and I know that it came out of a place of love. Our pastors, but we needed.
Yeah, I would have recommended for us and for anybody else, the more different methodologies and the more time you can put into that, the better.
Absolutely.
So the people that we did therapy with, they did their best. And I appreciate them, and they're people who I love today. But I think we could have done a better job at making sure that we were prepared, even within the time that we had. Like how I felt at the time was like, all right, we got 20 questions for homework, and we'll do 5, and then let's get back into wedding planning because we got a wedding to plan, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I think we didn't have enough time. We didn't take enough time, for sure. And then I also, I think there's a place for counseling, and then I also think there's a place for therapy, and they're two different things.
That's fair.
Yeah, well, this was on, how you fell in love.
Do you have any more questions about that?
All
those
How do we fall in love?
So, I mean, you're married, you're big dreamers, right? Big visionaries. So what were the dreams and visions for your future together?
Yeah. I think similar to any other married couple, building a family. But I think because of our faith background, we had purpose and calling at the foundation of what we were doing. And I think that really drove us forward. Do you remember our mission statement?
Yes.
What is it?
To plant seeds of eternal glory and to produce glimpses of the divine here on earth.
Do you hear that?
Wow.
To plant seeds of eternal glory. Hey,
All right.
somebody. I think that drove us, like the idea that we were here for a greater purpose. It was bigger than just us. And I think that differs from most kinds of relationships that happen, where it's kind of like, oh, well, we're just going to like make a lot of money and buy a cottage and get into retirement or have kids, raise them, send them off to school, that kind of thing. It really was bigger than us.
Okay.
And our marriage, our coming together was something that represented a sense of like purpose.
Yeah, to tag on to that, I think we felt like there are some beautiful things that we haven't seen and that are not normal or common or may not even exist on the earth in terms of the way that people relate to each other, in terms of some of our creative endeavors. And we wanted to bring those things from ideas into reality. Everything beautiful that has ever existed started out as an idea from somewhere, right? And it came from somewhere bigger or external to us into us as humans. And then we took some actions and made it happen. So we wanted that to be what we represented. We as believers in God, we thought that there were things that God had in his heart, ideas that he could send, and we wanted to be people who could represent and actually bring those into reality for the betterment of humanity and also for our enjoyment. It's fun to create something new and beautiful that has a lasting impact, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow, create something new and beautiful. Okay.
Yeah.
Did you do any creating?
I would say yes. The crowning achievement for me of our marriage
Crowning achievement.
was when we started talking. We both were working in jobs and in careers that we didn't love at the time. And we came up with a rough outline of a plan where we would take turns supporting each other so that we could focus and upskill and learn and achieve our career dreams. And a few weeks, maybe even a month into the marriage, Genevieve lost her job. And so we had a discussion, and it made sense that basically she would soon after that be able to go back to school and study psychotherapy, and I would take on more of the sporting responsibility, which was scary because I didn't know that I could do that, right? As Genevieve mentioned, my financial history and outlook was confusing at best to the outside, to the outside observer. But, at the time I got another job and we made it work, and the majority of the financial burden for that time I bore, and Genevieve was able to focus on studying, except for all the terrible things that we were doing outside of that, right? All the other struggles.
Yeah.
Like our marriage was very difficult and we made a lot of mistakes, myself chief, right? There was a lot of things that were harmful and hurtful, but something that worked well was Genevieve was able to progress in her studies and eventually get her master's. So I look at that and I think about the people that she's been able to help, and to know that I had some small part and be able to support her and like encourage her, and the money was part of it, but also I was like, you can do this, let's go, like, and there was hard moments when you disagree. Yeah, that's how I felt about it. I felt like when she lost her job, I saw this as an opportunity for her to like actually step into what had been maybe a dream and an idea before that. So yeah, the fact that created that contributed to creating her current career, and the fact that she's again being able to help so many people who are hopefully going to be healthier people and helping even more people. To me, that's an example of something divine being created.
Yeah. A crowning achievement. That supporting role.
Yeah.
Now, maybe not a
yeah.
crowning achievement, but a fond memory of your marriage.
Yeah, again, it's hard. It's so funny because you say that, and I'm like, yeah, that's true. Like I resonate with that, but I think the memory that comes up is so opposite to that, and I'm like, oh yeah, but that's so true. Like it did give me room and space to like study and grow. But yeah,
to jump in, because to be fair, mixed with me being able to be financially supportive and being emotionally encouraging was me being emotionally discouraging and saying mean things when I was angry, as mentioned, and being financially irresponsible at times and spending money that we'd earmarked for certain things on other things. So both of those
there was
things
like,
existed at the same time,
Yeah.
which it's totally understandable why that would be, the negative memories would stick out as well.
yeah. And I think, well, now that I think about it right now, right now,
Yeah.
right now,
Now.
yeah,
Right now.
don't miss the now. The opportunity to study provided me with an escape of some sort that was very much within my control, and that I could see being purposeful. Whereas at the time, I could not see that in marriage. I was like, this is in shambles. This is like, I don't know what to do over here. I don't know how that's going to work out. But I do know that this other area is for sure. Like, I know that I'm supposed to be doing this. I knew. And so it gave me an opportunity to have hope while I also lived in a space of like hardship and like I was bordering on hopelessness. Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So very
and
cool.
you were fighting for it for a while then. How long before you started thinking about divorce?
Well, to be fair, I don't think Samuel ever thought about divorce. I started thinking about divorce. It was 2 days after our first year wedding anniversary.
2 days after your first year of your wedding. Okay. So you were fighting for a good year.
Yeah, it was a good year. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
We're in it. And the thing is, I mean, you read the books and, you know, the stats and, the first year is always the hardest and whatnot.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you kind of struggle and wrestle it out for that amount of time.
Why did you want to stick it out?
During the first year, I just wanted to make it to a year. That's the
Is
honest
that
to
the
goodness.
competitive nature?
That's the honest to goodness. I was like, I'm gonna make the year for sure.
Okay.
We wanted to be on the right side of the bell curve, essentially.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, beyond that.
I like faith coming into that.
No, I just
No.
wanted to make it to a year.
Why did I want to? Because, so
And sorry, to be fair, I didn't actually think it would all fall down like that.
Okay.
I actually didn't know that was the decision that I would make. But I do remember having a conversation after a year, and that's when I was like, oh, okay. I just knew that it was really difficult, and we had to fix something or do something differently, and that's what I came up with after that conversation.
I think I just had a hope that things might get better. Like, as Genevieve is saying.
And I did too.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we had the conversation.
Right. Yeah, it was hard, but in my mind, I'm like, people change, things change, situations change. So there's a reason that I married this person. It's because, I love and respect them, like them even. And so if right now I'm not feeling like I like them that much because of everything that's happening, maybe there's a time that I won't feel this way. It's kind of how I felt in some of the harder months, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I didn't ever say I wanted like to leave. Like, I actually like Samuel. Samuel's actually, I mean, he's a likable person. He's funny, he's witty, he's cool, right? It was the painful time. Like, it was the times that I didn't know how to reconcile like the person that I like with the things that he was doing that really hurt. So it was like, how do you live with that for a long period of time with no kind of predictability as to when you might get blindsided? So it was kind of like, I don't know how to hold those two together. Like, I really just didn't have like a paradigm for that. I didn't know what to do. So yeah, it was kind of like, bye.
That makes sense.
Yeah. It's like we're like,
Thanks, everyone.
yeah.
Like, where are we going? We tried to talk about the pond stuff.
Okay,
we
so
tried to talk. But so maybe
I know there were so many great moments, so many great things, so many like epic, like life altering experiences that we had. Like traveling was fun, dreaming. I remember one time, like we were supposed to, I love Niagara Falls. I love water. Okay. I love traveling, yes, but I love water.
Okay.
Like large bodies of water. It's the sea, it's the ocean, it's the lake, it's a river, it's Niagara Falls. So I used to love to go to Niagara Falls. And so he was like, oh, we should go to Niagara Falls today. I was like, yeah, so I was super excited. And we got caught up, stuff happening, and we couldn't go to Niagara Falls. I don't know if you remember this, but we were in the car that night, and he was dropping me off. And then he's like, oh, lean your chair back. And I'm like, what? And he's like, so I leaned my chair back, and he like takes his cell phone out, and he like pulls up on his cell phone like a picture, like a moving picture of Niagara Falls.
Oh my goodness.
And like holds it up. It's like pretend you're there.
Yeah,
and I thought it was cheesy, but it was very like, it's indicative of, who he is. Like let's try to make the most of it. Let's, be creative and, like try to be cute and clever and sweet. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's moments like that. Like those are the moments that are like, they're endearing. They're like, oh, this is the kind of person that you are. Mm-hmm. That's the person that I fell in love with, and I, like there were so many moments. Like I remember when I was like, well, if you want to date me, then these are my standards, and I don't kiss before marriage, and I don't do this, that, and the next thing. He was like, okay, cool, I'll wait. And I was like, yeah, okay. We're gonna see.
yeah.
We're gonna see, right? But he waited. Our first kiss was on our wedding day. You know what I mean? Like it's things like that I mean, a lot of people don't get a chance to hear about or to experience or what have you. And those things made me feel seen, valued, safe, like excited about doing life together. And yeah, I mean,
some of the things you were holding on to during that first year.
Yeah. There's like real love there. And he did, put in effort. There's a lot of craziness and there's a lot of pain, yes, but there's real like fun. Mm-hmm. Like there's fun and silliness. He's silly. I came across a video the other day. Thank you, Google, by the way, Google Photos. It just brings up, this is where you were 9 years ago. Thanks, Google. Right. Thanks. But there was a video that came up and we were doing this silly dance, like this dumb dance, like just being like kids and just having fun, and there's joy in that. Mm-hmm. Being with somebody that you can be yourself with, you can be silly with, and just it's nice. It was nice to do that. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I agree.
He's like, I agree. I'm great.
yeah.
Yeah. In addition to the things that I've already said, something that I really appreciated and still appreciate about Genevieve is Genevieve has. Into her lifestyle has built systems for caring for people, so much so that it's automatic. Like you start off being unconsciously incompetent at things, and then with the goal of being unconsciously competent, just doing them without thinking about them. And Genevieve has a series of things that, through a combination of her very character as a person and just the way she's oriented, but also systematized, she has and had a bunch of things that she does to make people feel loved and cared for and like actually to show up in their lives more than anybody else I've ever met. There's a bunch of people who will swear by Genevieve and do anything for her because she's put in the time and made an effort to sacrifice for them. That was so beautiful to me and is so beautiful to me because a lot of other people, including myself, we struggle to be withholding with our love. We feel like if I love them too much, if I'm too giving, if I'm too caring, they're not going to match. They're going to take advantage of me. I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to feel stupid. And I'm sure to some degree Genevieve has experienced that, probably even more so after our marriage. But what I liked about her is she just had this openness and capacity to give love that was cultivated in a way that was really inspiring and beautiful to me, and that opened me up to want to do these things, to surprise her and delight her with all these romantic gestures, and plan cool things, and want to figure out a way to make more money so I could help her live her dreams. Like, I saw the way that she was doing that for everybody else. So I'm like, that's the type of woman that I would give anything for. My experience wasn't like that with many humans, and not just in dating, with friends, family, with myself. Again, I wanted to be more like that. So that was something that was kind of uniquely beautiful to me, and still is.
Thank you.
Well, that's nice. Mind you, I know it goes beyond that to some of the challenges that you were talking about. Although,
has there been challenges? I don't think we've touched on that.
Well, maybe the challenges for another time.
But I think it's important to just to highlight like the reality of how we are as human beings, right? We are all of what we are, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the troublesome, the testy, all that stuff, and really just to value, all those pieces. Like you're never all good or all bad, and just to be able to see like the full picture. And I think it's important to do that. Like Samuel is still Samuel. He's still who he is. He's not the sum of what he's done or whatever, right? Like he's still who he is. And I think that has to be a consideration when we start talking about people that have hurt us, and people that have been a part of our lives. Like forgiveness is for real. Like we forgive and then we lean in a different way. Like I don't expect Samuel to care for me or treat me the way that I would have expected in a marriage, but we're here today and we're pursuing whatever we're pursuing. But on some level, I have to trust him. On some level, I have to like him. On some level, I have to work with him. And I consider that a privilege. I consider that an honor to be able to do this with you, right? And on some level, it's kind of like I win because I get to do this with all the good parts of you. And when the bad parts of you show up, I'll be like, bye.
No, that makes
That's
sense.
real.
That makes sense. Okay. So here you are doing the good parts together. All right. Hence this. Sam
and Jen got divorced. Get your T-shirts, everybody. Get your T-shirts.
Okay.
So this has been another episode of Sam and Jen Got Divorced. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate you. Please let us know, what did you think? What are your thoughts? What made sense to you? What challenged you? What do you disagree with? We want to hear it all. So be sure to comment and tell your friends. Like, share, subscribe, because it really does help us. We want to get the word out there, and we want to make this better and better for you as the days and months and weeks and years go forward. Thanks, everybody.
See you next time.
Our hope is that by sharing our mistakes and what we've learned from them, be supporting healthy conversations in our communities. So if you're enjoying listening to this, do us a quick favor, like, comment, and subscribe. It's not only encouraging, but it helps us in tangible ways get you on the next episode, family.